I thought I had lost everything the night the fire took her. My wife, my home, my life, gone in an instant. 3 years passed in silence, grief swallowing every day. And then, out of nowhere, she texted me. A message that would shatter reality, deliver $40 million, and reveal a terrifying truth I could never have imagined. It happened on a quiet evening in suburban Colorado. My wife, Emily, and I had been living in our dream home for just under a decade. Life was ordinary, comfortable, predictable, and I thought safe. I had no idea that everything I believed about the life we shared was about to be torn apart in flames. I was at work when it started. A call from a neighbor shattered my routine. "Your house, it's on fire." I raced home, my heart hammering, fear clawing at my chest. When I arrived, the fire department was already there, hoses spraying water, smoke billowing into the sky. But it was too late. Emily was gone. My home was a skeleton of ash. Grief is a strange, heavy thing. In the months after, I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't think clearly. Every corner of my life reminded me of her absence. Friends tried to help, but there was a hollow weight inside me that no comfort could reach. Insurance replaced the house, but it didn't replace her. Investigators labeled it an accident, a tragic electrical fire. I wanted to believe them. I had to. Then came the nightmares. Not just memories of her face, of that last night, but shadows of doubt. Odd details kept surfacing. Why had she been standing in a different room when the fire started? Why were some valuables untouched while others were destroyed? My mind, desperate for answers, began noticing things I couldn't explain. Life moved forward, but it felt empty. I tried dating, tried reconnecting with friends, but nothing filled the void. Every morning I expected to wake up and find it all was a terrible dream. But 3 years later, my phone buzzed in a way I hadn't felt in years. A text from an unknown number. It was her, Emily. 3 years after her death, her name appeared on my screen. My hands shook. I thought I was imagining it at first. The message wasn't just words. It was a digital jolt to the core of my reality. She had sent me a bank transfer, $40 million. My mind reeled. How? Why? And more importantly, why now? Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. The message included only a few words. "I'm alive. The fire wasn't what it seemed. Meet me if you want the truth." My first reaction was disbelief, terror, and confusion. For years I had mourned her, faced the world alone, and accepted a reality that was suddenly turned upside down. Who could she be now? And what truth could she possibly be hiding that required so much secrecy and so much money? That night, I stared at the screen for hours, trying to piece together a life I thought I understood. The fire had taken my wife, but it hadn't taken the secrets she carried. And I had a sinking feeling that the answers I was about to uncover would be darker and more dangerous than anything I could imagine. After staring at her message for what felt like hours, I knew I had no choice but to act. Emily was alive, or at least someone claiming to be her, and the text was too precise to be a cruel joke. My fingers trembled as I typed back, asking questions I didn't even expect to be answered. The reply was brief, almost cryptic. "Don't try to contact me here. Follow the instructions in the account transfer." The $40 million transfer included a small file with directions, a series of encrypted messages and coordinates. My heart raced. How could she, or whoever sent this, have done this? And why involve me in something so elaborate? For 3 years, I had believed she was gone. I had mourned, adjusted, and tried to rebuild. And now, suddenly, I was being pulled into a reality I didn't understand. I spent the next few days carefully analyzing the instructions. Each message was layered, almost like a puzzle. I had no idea if Emily had sent it personally or if someone else was manipulating the situation, but there was a familiarity in the tone, a precision I recognized. She or they knew I was the kind of person who wouldn't act recklessly. They were testing me, gauging my intelligence, and watching my patience. I started by checking the transfer itself. The money had come from multiple sources spread across accounts worldwide, all tracing back to entities I had never heard of. It was impossible to link directly to Emily, which meant she or whoever orchestrated this had been meticulous. There was no sign of theft, fraud, or coercion. It was clean, precise, and deliberate. Whoever she had become had resources far beyond anything I could have imagined. Then came the haunting realization that the fire that had supposedly taken her life was never an accident. Little details I had ignored at the time suddenly stood out. The placement of items, the lack of accelerant evidence, the timing of the emergency call. It didn't add up. And now, with this message, I realized I had been living in a carefully crafted illusion for 3 years. Emily's disappearance had been planned, executed, and hidden from me all along. I knew I had to investigate further, but cautiously. Any misstep could make her, or whoever controlled the money, disappear again, or worse. I hired a private investigator, someone discreet and trustworthy, to trace any leads without tipping off the sender. We started with the coordinates included in the files. They led to a remote cabin in Montana, miles from civilization, surrounded by thick woods and untouched by casual travelers. Every night I replayed memories of Emily, the life we had shared, the small gestures, the arguments, the laughter, and tried to reconcile them with the cold precision of this message. It was almost impossible to believe that the woman I had mourned was now alive, orchestrating something so elaborate and possibly dangerous. I knew that following the trail was no longer optional. The $40 million was not just a lifeline, it was the key to understanding her survival and the horrifying reality that had forced her to vanish. Following the coordinates wasn't simple. The Montana cabin was hours away, surrounded by dense forest and winding roads. Every mile I drove, my mind raced. Could Emily really be alive? And if so, why the secrecy, the money, and the cryptic messages? The questions were relentless, but so was my determination to find answers. When I finally arrived, the cabin looked abandoned at first glance, its wooden exterior weathered, a thin layer of dust covering the windows. But the closer I looked, the more details suggested recent activity, footprints in the dirt, a faint smoke trail from a chimney, and a carefully stacked pile of wood fire. Whoever had been here was waiting, watching, prepared. Inside, the atmosphere was tense, almost surreal. The walls were lined with documents, maps, and photographs. It became immediately clear Emily, or the person orchestrating this, was meticulous, calculated, and resourceful. There was no sign of ordinary domestic life. Everything in the cabin was purpose-driven, designed to protect, hide, and manipulate information. I found the first tangible clue, a set of encrypted journals and folders. Each contained fragments of her story, timelines, and coded notes about her disappearance. One entry stood out, written in her familiar handwriting. The fire was never meant to kill, only to vanish. Ryan must never know until the time is right. He must be ready for the truth. My hands shook as I read the words. The reality I had clung to for 3 years was a lie, carefully planned and executed. The more I explored, the more disturbing the details became. There were photographs of people I didn't recognize, marked with notes and symbols. Financial records showed money flowing through accounts I couldn't trace. It was sophisticated, organized, and intentional. The fire had been a cover, but for what? And why send $40 million now, after 3 years of silence? I also noticed a small, locked safe tucked under a loose floorboard. It had a note attached. The first step: use it wisely. Every choice matters. Inside, I found hard drives, documents, and what appeared to be a partial confession or explanation. My pulse quickened. This was no ordinary inheritance. It was a map, a warning, and a puzzle designed to draw me into a hidden world I had no idea existed. But danger was already present. From outside the cabin, I heard distant noises, vehicles approaching, engines crunching over gravel. Whoever Emily had been running from might still be tracking her, tracking me. The sense of urgency tightened my chest. The longer I lingered, the higher the risk. Someone, somewhere knew I had arrived. And then came the final jolt of fear. A message appeared on the encrypted device, time-stamped only minutes ago. Do not trust anyone. They will come for you next. The fire was just the beginning. The words confirmed my worst suspicions. This was bigger than I imagined. Emily's disappearance wasn't just a personal choice. It was part of a dangerous, sprawling situation that had threatened her life, and now it threatened mine. As night fell over the cabin, I realized the stakes had escalated. The $40 million was not just wealth, it was a beacon, a lure, and a lifeline. And the terrifying truth Emily had promised was closer than ever. I had to decide, pursue it, risk everything, or walk away and lose her and the answers forever. Night had settled over the Montana cabin, and the shadows seemed to stretch longer than they should. My hands trembled as I sifted through Emily's files and encrypted journals, each page revealing fragments of a reality I couldn't have imagined. The fire, the disappearance, the $40 million, they weren't random. They were carefully orchestrated, part of a secret so dangerous it had kept her hidden for 3 years. I found a series of messages, timestamps lining up with events I assumed were normal, fires, news reports, even police investigations. Emily had meticulously recorded every step, anticipating questions I might one day ask. And then it hit me. The fire wasn't just a cover to disappear. It was designed to make me believe she was dead, to protect me from something far more sinister. The encrypted files revealed people, organizations, and transactions I couldn't fully comprehend at first. Money laundering, high-level fraud, and dangerous associates, all connected to her sudden disappearance. She had been living under new identities, moving carefully to avoid anyone who could track her down. And now, after 3 years, she had chosen me as the one person who could understand the full truth. The terrifying part was Emily's life hadn't just been at risk, it had been weaponized. The fire, the false death, and the sudden transfer of $40 million were part of a strategy to protect not only her, but also me. Someone had wanted the money, the information, or both. And now, after years of silence, she was pulling me into it. Then came the call I had been dreading. My phone buzzed, displaying an unfamiliar number. Hesitation rooted me to the spot, but curiosity and fear won. The voice on the other end was cold, authoritative, and chilling. "We know you found her trail. Stay away, or the fire will seem like a warning compared to what's coming." The line went dead. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just a story about lost love and a hidden fortune. It was a life-and-death situation. I realized I was no longer just uncovering a secret. I was entering a dangerous game that had been set in motion long before I even knew Emily existed. The $40 million was more than money. It was leverage, insurance, and bait. Whoever had wanted her, or the information she possessed, was still out there, and they knew I was close. Despite the fear, I couldn't turn back. Emily had entrusted me with the clues, the inheritance, and the truth. If I didn't follow them, I would never know why she had disappeared, why she had chosen to protect me, and what nightmare she had been running from. Piece by piece, I began to understand. The fire had been her escape, but also a trap designed to mislead the world. I spent the night mapping connections, reviewing her files, and preparing for the next move. Every document, every photo, and every note pointed toward a network far larger than I could imagine. And with every revelation, the urgency grew. Time wasn't just against me, it was a matter of survival. By dawn, I had a plan. I would follow the next set of instructions hidden in Emily's files, uncover the remaining secrets, and finally confront the terrifying truth she had been hiding. But I knew one thing for certain. Whoever had orchestrated the fire, and whoever wanted the money, would stop at nothing, and I had to be ready for the consequences, whatever they might be. It turned out that Emily had uncovered a network of dangerous individuals involved in high-stakes crime, financial fraud, extortion, and corruption at levels that could put innocent lives at risk. When she refused to cooperate with them, they threatened her life. The fire was staged as part of an elaborate escape plan, designed to make everyone, including me, believe she was dead while she went into hiding. The $40 million, she continued, is part of what I secured to protect us, to ensure we can survive if they come after us again. It's also proof of what they were capable of and why I had to disappear. You couldn't know, Ryan. It would have put you in danger too. I stared at her, my mind racing, trying to absorb the truth. 3 years of grief, anger, confusion, it all transformed in an instant into understanding, fear, and awe. But the danger wasn't over. Just as we began talking, a faint sound outside made my blood run cold, tires crunching on gravel. Emily grabbed my arm. "They know I'm here. We have minutes." Together we moved quickly, following a hidden path she had prepared for emergencies. It was tense, silent, and precise. Every second counted. Once we were safe at a secondary location she had set up, Emily explained everything in detail. Every move, every choice, every moment of her absence was calculated to keep us alive and protect the money from falling into the wrong hands. The $40 million was not just fortune, it was leverage, evidence, and insurance. For the first time in 3 years, I felt a mixture of relief and disbelief. My wife, thought dead, was alive. The terrifying truth had been revealed, dangerous as it was, and we were together again. It wasn't a perfect resolution. Threats still lingered, but for the first time I understood why it had all happened. The fire had taken nearly everything, our normal life, our peace, my certainty, but it hadn't taken Emily, and it hadn't taken the life we could still build. The terrifying truth had brought clarity, survival, and an opportunity to reclaim what had been lost. As we looked out over the wilderness, the tension of the past 3 years slowly began to lift. I realized that sometimes the most unimaginable betrayals or losses carry the seeds of survival, resilience, and a future we never expected. And I knew one thing for certain: I would never take a single moment for granted again.